There are many ways to hit a golf ball, and actually quite a few of these methods will result in some decent ball striking. But the problem is you'll have to give up either distance, accuracy, or consistency, or even 2 out of these 3. But if you really want power, accuracy, and do this day after day, shot after shot, and really improve your golf swing, then there's really only one way you should be swinging. And that is by throwing the club head freely square around the circle. Now, in a recent video, we talked about how there really only is one line in the game of golf, and that is the line that you want your ball to travel from the tee over to the fairway, over to the flag. But the swing itself has no lines in it. And here's a couple examples. Some people out there would tell you need to swing inside to out, which of course means this club head is moving. Yes, it's moving from inside to out, great. The problem is the handle of the club, and mostly the club head, is too much on a straight line. It is not conforming to the curve that we need to get power and accuracy. Another piece of poor coaching is telling someone to throw the club head down the fairway or throw their arms down the fairway. Again, that is trying to put a straight line into where a curve or an arc or a circle should be, what we would call in golf sometimes the swing plane. So we want that club head to travel down, approach the ball from the inside, which means it's got to come from here. Really difficult if it's coming from here, that you're going to skip the first couple of golf balls and crash down more on this one, and then you're going to miss these last 2 golf balls over here. So swinging this way again makes the club handle too much on a straight line, or a vertical circle that does not, it would appear to be a straight line from above. So instead, from the inside, squaring up to the target at the moment you strike the ball, and then the club head swings back around the inside, and the arms are already winning the race to it, since the hands are ahead in the circle of the club head until you get to about here and they catch up to each other. The hands are always going to precede with their actions around the arc to compare to the club head. So the hands are going to be breaking around the circle before you get to the ball. They're already breaking to the left, which helps kick the club head out and around the circle like that. Now here's a great first-person look at the curve of the club head as it comes out into the ball. Notice it approaches from the inside, heads back to the inside, but right at the moment it strikes the ball, for that one split second, the club head is moving in the direction of the target. Now here's a look at the inside circle, the arc that the hands might travel on. Notice it does not peak at the ball, but instead it peaks early over by the right big toe and then starts making its way back around the circle as the club head comes into the ball. So because of this, you'd have a case where the hands should be moving around the arc to the left at the moment the club head is on its last bit of inside out in its arc. Now the 2 biggest mistakes that people make with their swings both involve not having enough curve to the path of the hands. And here's the super over the top steep swing where you're coming outside to in. You can see that there's no horizontal curve, there's just vertical curve here. So from the top down view, it almost looks like a straight line. And the other one would be this, where someone is sure they're coming from the inside, but they're not wrapping that club handle around in time to get the club to come around a square. And you'll be coming at it from the inside just fine. The problem is you're going to be stuck leaving the club face wide open and getting into that super blocky, hooky pattern. All right, so now that we've established the arc or the circle that we should be swinging both the club head and the hands around, we should talk about how to freely release the club head. Now, unfortunately, so many golfers have taken the poison pill, a couple of different poison pills. If you're over 50, there's a really good chance that you might have learned this method to what they would call release the club head, and that is to hold the right wrist. And remember, you've got to hold the angle as long as you can in the downswing. Again, another poison pill. And of course, what I see all the time is hold, 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 and then flip. So if we were just to examine just the motion going through impact of doing that, you've got super open club face, Sure. Oh, I got great forward lean though, right? I'm gonna compress the ball. But the problem is here that the club face is wide open. I'm gonna shank it or block it off the planet. Unless, of course, I turn this palm down like this, something like that, and really pronate this forearm over. And now let's just isolate that. Right here to here. Tell me how many inches does the center of mass of this club head advance because of that move? Maybe 3 or 4 inches. Slightly behind the ball, center of the club is slightly in front of the ball. It might have advanced the club head 4 inches. What has it done for your potential for accuracy? Your club head has gone from 30 degrees open to 30 degree closed in this span of time. You would be lucky to hit the ball 3 times in a row on the correct line. And if you time it and you practice this for 10,000 hours, you're going to have a pretty good draw going, but you're never going to be able to hit the ball super far because you are not throwing the club head. You are holding the energy back. You are wrecking the chain reaction that you started from the top of the swing. You are not allowing the electricity to be conducted from the center of mass down to the club head. You're stifling it. And it's a good thing that you can't hit the ball far this way, because you're going to hit the ball with such a varying club face from shot to shot and day to day. Some days you're going to push it into the right rough. Other days you're going to hook it into the left rough. And then some days you go back and forth like you're playing army golf. So the holding and then turning the palm down this way. If you see anybody in a YouTube video telling you that you should do that, you should run as fast as you can. Now instead, if I were to use a motion of the wrist rather than this to this, if I use this to that, and include the elbow in there, bend the elbow, pin back the wrist, snap them both straight, so snap the elbow straight, and fling the hand from here to here, free, almost by the ligaments. It's almost not even a muscular response. It's a very bursty one, very quick way back here, but my hand is flapping from just basically the ligaments only, because the burst of energy in the muscles occurred very quickly and way early, and you're just seeing the response in that hand. Now, if we were to isolate, here we've got the club head coming in. Now it's coming in square to the arc, where before it was coming in open. We're obsessed with compression and forward lean. Let's get that club face square. So here it comes in square. And watch how far this is going to advance, first of all. So I'm about, 24 inches behind the ball here. And I'm about 24 to 30 inches ahead of the ball here. So I've advanced this thing 5 to 6 feet instead of 4 to 5 inches with the same one joint, that wrist joint. At the same time, watch the behavior through impact now. Here's square to the arc, advancing around the arc, square to the arc, square to the arc, square to the arc, just like that. Now let's look at the arm position and the follow through, because it is an optical illusion. Everyone's going to think that, oh, you're really flipping that toe over. Here we come with both hands now. So here we go, square to the arc, square to the arc, square to the arc, around the circle, square to the arc, and I'm advancing it by throwing that thing this way, as if you would skip a rock, throw a frisbee four-handed, or make a submarine pitching motion this way. My wrist is going to end up in this position, while this wrist ends up in this position, and that is how you throw the club. You do this with a complete green light from top to exit. There is no hold and wait. There is no measure it. You can throw it fast. You can throw it medium. You can throw it slow. But the freedom, the green light, maybe you might say recklessness when you feel it for the first time. And look where the arms end up here. Now, doesn't that look like let's say my forearms are fully crossed over, And it looks like I've kind of done the flip move. But now from the up the line angle, looking back towards the tee, you can see that you were looking at an optical illusion as I go into the same exact motion, square to the arc, but I'm already have been in the process of throwing this thing from way back here, throwing it here, square to the arc. The handle of the club is already curving early, while the head is still working its way out. The more sharply you can get the hands to work in while the club head works out, the faster that's going to get whipped around. And it will come in square to the arc, hit the ball. Here we come, square to the arc, throwing, around the arc, club face, square to the arc. Now there's the same position I was in the face-on angle, but now you can see it doesn't quite look like what it did from the face-on. It looked like I was flipping the toe over and gonna hook the ball. Now, for the haters and the doubters who say, that's flippy, that's casty, completely untrue. As long as you do what every good golfer does and you get your swing sequenced with the lower body and the pivot always working slightly ahead of that throw. Very easy to do that just by taking a club that, like this, it's whippy and it swooshes. You can do this with a regular club, it's just more apparent with a tool like this. All I have to do is intend to put my peak throwing speed out in front of the intended ball contact by about 30 inches. Now, if you are casty and flippy and you look something like this as you come down, then you might want to even exaggerate that idea. Remember, you're always on the arc though. Inside to square, back to the inside, throwing it. But I'm going to put the swoosh 3 or 4 feet out in front. Simply, for most of you, it's just intention. If you just intend, I'm going to pick out a spot somewhere around this curve, about 3 feet out in front, right about here. And you pretend that the ball is really there, teed up really high, and instead you try to make the swoosh really loud and snap that club out in front about 3 feet. You're going to automatically get your forward leaning shaft, a massive amount of lag, almost more lag than you can handle, forward lean, forward divot, and compression. All takes care of itself. Wouldn't it be amazing if you can automatically do those things correctly with just one simple idea of throwing the club freely around the arc? So something like this. And you can hear, I'm trying to save that swoosh, and I'm trying to swoosh this club more right at the camera. So it's not a straight line. Do not try to throw the arms of the club head up the fairway. You're going to get terrible results in distance and accuracy and consistency. All go out the window as soon as you introduce a straight line into the concept of a golf swing. But instead we're going swooshing around and ahead like this. And you're trying to make it loud. The faster, quicker, more forcefully you can snap the elbow and wrist, which means it has to be free. It has to be the characteristics of a bullwhip. A bullwhip is not a steel bar. You cannot hit a golf ball far if you feel like a steel bar from the shoulders down. You have to be the bullwhip instead. So the way I see it, you really have 3 groups of golfers. You have golfers that do not bring the club from the inside around the circle. They bring it to the ball on a straight line from here. And then you have a second group of golfers that does bring the club from the inside into the ball, but they shoot a straight line again from inside to out, and that keeps them from hitting it straight. Then you have a third group of golfers that wants to hold the wrists as long as they can and then flip them over like that. Now, you're probably going to have 2 of those 3, and this is the exact reason why you're not getting the consistent results. You're not getting the distance that you want Certainly not going to get the face control you want, not going to get the divot location that you want. But instead we want to, again, it's a very simple concept on paper, inside on an arc to square, back to the inside, and throw it as free as you possibly can. Let's see what I can do. Now that's really hitting the ball. Not only long, but super straight and consistent, so you know what you're going to get when you're hitting the ball good on the range and you got to go tomorrow to the club championships and you go to the first tee and you got nothing. It's because you're in one of these three camps. So keep this in mind. Square to the arc, throw the club head square around an arc, and you're going to get great results. Hey, thanks so much for watching all the way through the video. If you got some value out of this, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my website, hititlonger.com. I offer some great personalized coaching options so I can help you take your swing to the next level. And as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.